Hello everyone. Thank you all for watching the video. Wishing you all good health and peace. The dawn crept over the mountains, its light a hesitant whisper, threading through mist that draped the hills like a veil over unspoken grief. Ly Tieu Ca stirred, her breath soft in the morning's chill, as roosters crowed, their calls slicing the stillness of a world yet to wake. She stepped onto the packed dirt of their bamboo house, its walls weathered by rain and time, and knelt by the hearth, her hands roughened by years of toil, coaxing flames from ash. The fire flickered, casting shadows like memories she held at bay, and a pot of rice porridge simmered, its steam a quiet vow for her daughter Han, who slept still, her small form curled under a quilt, her breath a gentle rhythm. Beyond the yard, the chicken coop hummed with soft clucks, and Ly Tieu Ca's heart trembled, as if the day carried the weight of truths it might unveil. Their home clung to a slope, a humble shelter of bamboo and thatch, cradled by the mountain's embrace. The yard was a patchwork of life. A chicken coop where eggs hid in straw, a vegetable patch where greens curled toward the sun, a row of young plants she'd sown with hope. Each morning Ly Tieu Ca gathered eggs, their shells warm in her palms, or fed Han, her tiny hands eager for the day's warmth. Today, Han was with her grandmother, her giggles a distant echo down the trail, and Ly Tieu Ca moved to the coop, her basket slung over her shoulder, her steps sure despite the ache in her bones. Sin, her husband, was gone, his motorbikes hum absent for days, his work at the wood factory a distant promise. The hope of his wages had once warmed her, but now a shadow lingered. His silence, his absence, the whispers of another woman. Her heart wavered, torn between love and a fear she couldn't name, as if the mountain itself held secrets it wouldn't share. The coop was cool, the air thick with the scent of straw and earth, the stream's murmur faint beyond the trees. Ly Tieu Ca knelt, her hands brushing straw, uncovering eggs, their surfaces dusted but warm. "So many today," she murmured, her voice soft, a smile flickering as she cradled one, its weight a small triumph. She moved carefully, filling the basket, each egg a promise of coins at market, yet her thoughts drifted to Sin, to his work drying boards, his promises of a better life, his absence that stretched a week. The coop was theirs, a dream stitched from small labors, but his silence pressed, heavy as the dew that clung to the grass. She thought of Han, her laughter a spark that lit the dimmest days, and of the years they'd endured, lean seasons when hunger clung like damp, nights when Han's cries were her only companion. Her heart swelled, joy and fear entwined, as if the earth had shifted beneath her. The sun climbed, its warmth piercing the mist, casting golden threads across the yard. Ly Tieu Ca paused, her hands resting on the basket, her eyes tracing the valley below, where the stream glinted like a silver thread. She thought of the market, where she'd sell eggs, their shells a vow of sustenance, and of Han, her small hands clutching fruit, her giggles a balm. She thought of Sin, his hands steady at the factory, counting boards, his voice once bright with hope. 5 tons today, 10 tomorrow, a raise if he proved himself. But the neighbors' whispers lingered. A woman, older than her, seen with Sin, their laughter shared in ways that cut. She pushed the thought away, her hands tightening on the basket, her steps quickening to the house, where she sorted eggs, their fragility a mirror to her own. Back at the house, Ly Tieu Ca prepared Han's meal, her hands deft, her thoughts a tangle of hope and dread. Han returned, her grandmother's hand guiding her, her small feet kicking dust, her chatter a melody that softened the air. "Mama, eggs!" she called, her eyes bright, her hands reaching for one. Ly Tieu Ca knelt, her smile warm, her fingers cracking an egg for porridge, its yolk sharp against the steam. "For you," she said, offering a spoonful, Han's giggle a spark as she ate, crumbs dusting her chin. The warmth of the porridge spread in Ly Tieu Ca's chest, a surprise that felt like grace, and she laughed, the sound rare and bright, a moment of joy amid the labor. Her grandmother nodded, her eyes kind, her voice low. "She's your strength." Ly Tieu Ca's throat tightened, her hand brushing Han's hair, her heart catching at the thought of her daughter's future, of the life they were building, of Sin's absence in it. The morning deepened, and Ly Tieu Ca moved to the yard, her hands scattering grain for the chickens, their soft forms darting in the dust. Han trailed her, her small hands tossing grain in clumsy arcs, her chatter a spark that lit the air. Ly Tieu Ca watched, her smile softening, but her eyes carried shadows, memories of lean years, of Han's cries unanswered, of nights when the mountain felt too vast. She thought of Sin, his motorbike sold to cover debts, his work at the factory a lifeline now frayed by silence. She'd waited for him, her hands hovering by the hearth, but his absence stretched, a week without word. A void filled by whispers of a woman whose name she didn't know. Her heart ached, a wound she couldn't name, as she gathered the eggs, their weight a reminder of what she could control. The day waned, the sun climbing higher, casting long shadows over the hills. Ly Tieu Ca prepared for the market, her basket heavy with eggs, the trail slick with dust, the heat pressing against her skin. The stalls hummed, voices calling, the air thick with spice and smoke, the scent of grilled corn mingling with herbs. She spread her mat, her eggs gleaming, her voice steady. "Fresh eggs, 100,000 dong," she called, her smile practiced, her eyes scanning the crowd. Customers came, their hands sorting eggs, their coins heavy in her palm, and she felt a spark of joy, a small triumph in the day's labor. The market was crowded, the bustle a balm, and she sold quickly, the coins a promise of rice, cloth, a future for Han. But as she packed her mat, a figure approached, hung, a man she'd met before, his eyes kind, his voice warm. "Tieu Ca," he said, his hands carrying 2 glasses of lemon water, their chill a surprise in the heat. "You look tired." She smiled, her fingers brushing the glass, the tartness sharp on her tongue. "Just the market," she said, but her eyes betrayed her, heavy with the weight of days. Hung sat, his presence steady, his words gentle. "I heard about a sin," he said, his voice low. "He's not been home." Ly Tieu Ca's smile faltered, her hands pausing, her heart a fist in her chest. She nodded, her voice steady, but the truth burned. "A week without a sin," whispers of a woman older, seen with him at the factory. "I don't know where he is," she said, her eyes distant, the glass cold in her palm. Hung's eyes softened, his voice a lifeline. "You're strong. Han needs you. If you need help, I'm here." The market faded, and Hung offered to drive her home, his pickup truck a contrast to the dust of her trail. She hesitated, the weight of his kindness heavy, but her legs ached and Han waited. She climbed in, the seatbelt unfamiliar, the road winding through hills, the stream glinting in the dusk. Hung spoke, his words a bridge. Stories of his brother James working the fields, plans to stay in Vietnam, a vow to build something new. Ly Tieu Ca listened, her heart easing, but the weight of a sin's absence lingered, a shadow that grew with the fading light. "Han's only 2, she said, her voice breaking. "I waited 2 years for him. Now this." Hung's hand paused on the wheel, his eyes kind. "When one door closes, another opens. You'll find a way." They stopped at a blue sign, the village near, and Ly Tieu Ca stepped out, her basket lighter, her heart heavier. "Thank you," she said, her voice soft, the lemon waters chill a memory in her hand. Hung nodded, his truck fading into the dusk, and she walked the trail to her grandmother's house, the air cool, the stars sharp against the dark. The bamboo house glowed, its hearth a beacon, and Han ran to her, her small hands eager, her chatter a spark. "Mama, home!" she called, her eyes bright, and Ly Tieu Ca knelt, her smile warm, her heart catching at the weight of her daughter's trust. Inside, the hearth glowed, its warmth a contrast to the chill in her chest. Ly Tieu Ca fed Han, her small hands eager, her chatter a spark in the quiet. Her grandmother watched, her eyes kind but heavy, her voice low. "He's gone a week," she said, her hands slicing greens, their scent sharp on the air. "I raised your mother alone. You can do this." Ly Tieu Ca nodded, her fingers tracing the bowl's rim, the clay cool against her skin. She thought of a sin, his hands steady at the factory, his voice once promising a better life, boards dried, wages earned, a future stitched from small gains. She thought of the woman, her laughter a blade she hadn't seen, and of Han, her laughter a light that both warmed and unsettled her, a vow tested by a week's silence. They ate, rice and greens warmed by the hearth, Han nestled between her and her grandmother, her giggles a spark in the quiet. Ly Tieu Ca's thoughts turned inward, a tangle of love and pain. She thought of the factory where a sin worked, his absence a void that echoed in the village's whispers. She thought of their years together, the nights when hunger was a shadow, the days when Han's birth was a joy unmarred by the world's judgment. She thought of this moment, a light that both warmed and shattered her, a vow broken by a man's silence, a woman's shadow, a truth she couldn't unhear. The green's flavor lingered, a reminder of what they'd earned, and what she might lose. The evening deepened, the fire's glow casting shadows across the room, the bamboo walls softening in the light. Ly Tieu Ca cleared the bowls, her hands steady, the clink of clay a rhythm in the quiet. Han slept, her breath soft, her small form curled on a mat, her laughter a memory that lingered. Her grandmother hummed, her hands folding a quilt, her presence a steady anchor. Ly Tieu Ca stepped outside, the air cool, the stars sharp against the dark, their light a map of questions without answers. The mountain loomed, its silence vast, the valley hidden beyond its folds, the stream's murmur a faint lullaby. She gazed down the path the sin had ridden, the dust untouched, her heart a fragile bridge between love and betrayal. She lingered, the scent of earth and straw wrapping her, the night's chill brushing her skin like a memory. She thought of the coop, its eggs a seed of their future, the greens growing strong, the coins from the market a vow of resilience. She thought of their dreams, small but stubborn like roots breaking stone, and of a sin, his hands steady, his heart hers, yet lost to a shadow she couldn't name. She thought of Han, her daughter's future a dream both fierce and frail, and of herself, a woman who'd carried love through years of want, now standing on the edge of a choice that burned. The stars held no answers, only light, and Ly Tieu Ca let the stillness hold her, a breath before dawn's demands. Tomorrow she'd rise, gather eggs, feed Han, walk to market, her steps sure despite the weight. Han would laugh, chasing chicks or clutching greens, her voice a melody that softened the yard's edges. A sin might return, his hands empty, his eyes heavy with truths she couldn't hear. The coins from the market would carry them, a path to a future unwritten, a chance to outrun the shadow of betrayal. The coop would yield, its eggs a vow of resilience, and Han's laughter would light the dimmest days. But in her soul a question lingered, delicate as moonlight. Would she wait for him, or would she stand alone, raising Han under the mountain's gaze? Somewhere in the valley's hush, their future waited, and here on the mountain, her family breathed, a fragile circle of love and pain, its edges softened by a sky too vast to promise forever.